is it true, Mataji, that you joined when you were 16? Yes, amazing. In 1968. And yes, she served as Pujari in different places, Boston, New York, LA. She spent 2 years in India learning how to make these dolls from clay for the dioramas. And then she was 25 years running a business with her husband. Actually, she is the wife of Anutama Prabhu, wife and better half of Anutama Prabhu. I think we all know him. He's a GBC. So. Yes. Anutama Prabhu is a GBC. He is also the Minister for Communication, a very powerful preacher, wonderful personality. So she is his better half. So they were together running a business for 25 years. Now she is a board member of various boards, also here of the Saba Advisory Group and so many other boards. And she travels internationally, takes part in conferences and retreats, and so she has a very active life of really service and dedication to Srila Prabhupada's mission. What can I say? And also she has one son, Gauravani, famous Kirtaniya, and 3 grandchildren. So mother on all different levels. So she will share some insights and realizations. Now we are kind of boiling down things. She will speak on the wife of Brahmana, guru or teacher, king or leader, manager, because she's actually in that position. She is the wife of a Brahmana and a leader and a teacher.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Paschatya Deshatane. I'm very grateful to Devaki for inviting me to speak. Srila Prabhupada said that every year we should come to Mayapur to discuss the idea of unity and diversity. So her invitation to me is actually a beautiful example of that, because perhaps I come from a slightly different perspective from hers, and still she has honored me to speak here, so I'm very grateful for that. One thing is, I kind of misunderstood the instructions, and I kind of prepared notes on all 7 mothers. So I hope that's okay if I can fit it in within 20 minutes. That's what I've got. And then one other thing I wanted to say is there's so many empty chairs up here, and I see so many of you, men and ladies, that are back there. So if you could, please come in here. Maybe there are less mosquitoes in here, I'm not sure. But there's so many empty seats, and it would be nice to see your faces. At least, I think for the speakers, it's more personal when you have faces to look at as opposed to empty chairs. So all of you out there in the netherworlds, please come up. So, yes, the Manusmriti talks about how the gods dwell where women are honored and respected. And first of all, our own mother, our first guru, the one who gave us birth. Srila Prabhupada says in his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 16th chapter, verses 26 through 30, he says that only fools are ungrateful to their benefactors. Isn't that powerful? So we don't think so much of gratitude in Krishna consciousness, but if you keep an eye out, you'll find Srila Prabhupada references the word gratitude very, very often in his purports. And it's a really, really important concept, especially when thinking of our mothers, or really when thinking of anything. So, yeah. So maybe you may have issues with your birth mother. Many of us do. But thank her. Be grateful. She didn't abort you. She didn't throw you in a trash bin. Thank her. I was in New Jersey once, and I don't know if you'll believe this, but it's true. I was in New Jersey, in Newark, New Jersey, and I saw this advertisement. Have you seen this? It was on the side of a bus, and it said, "Don't throw your baby in the dumpster." A dumpster is a big trash bin in America. Don't throw your baby in the dumpster. If you have a baby and you don't want the baby, just bring the baby to the nearest police station or fire station, and we won't ask any questions, but we'll take your baby. No questions asked. But just don't throw the baby in the dumpster. So, certainly Kali Yuga, isn't it? When a mother is so destitute in her consciousness that she could throw her own baby in the trash. How sad. So your mother raised you. She taught you to the best of her ability the difference between good and bad. She tolerated your teenage rebellion, perhaps. I know my mother and father tolerated that I joined the ISKCON movement when I was 16 years old. So thank you, Mom. Thank you. So, and then ladies, often ladies are looking for a good husband. And my advice to you ladies is that marry a man who loves and respects his own mother. Maharaj was just speaking so beautifully, and probably if you interviewed a lot of leading men in ISKCON, you would find that they had amazing relationships with their mothers very often. So otherwise, when there are difficulties, and there are always difficulties in life, he may just take it out on you. So believe me, that marry a man who loves and respects his mother. And Devi is concerned that ladies don't try to compete with the men. And I would agree with that. Srila Prabhupada said that men have a broad shoulder mentality. So in a relationship, in a marriage, only one person can really be the boss. So best to let him be the boss. It's more peaceful and it's more natural that way. But as women, as Vaishnavis, we have our own gifts, and I believe in that. So actually, I was invited to speak in Varanasi at a conference. I'm leaving in a couple of days. It's a conference on Sita Devi, and I was invited to speak on awakening the higher masculine and feminine energies. So as Maharaj said again, in Bhakti, we are worshippers of the Shakti, Shaktiman, of Prakriti, Purusha. Krishna is never separated from his Devi Prakriti, his divine energy. We always honor the feminine pleasure potency of the Lord first. It's always Radha Krishna, Sita Ram, and Lakshmi Narayan. So in divinity, as in nature, there are always these two energies, and they're meant to exist in balance and in harmony. And that is bhakti, an existence in balance and harmony. There's a beautiful story about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, that a very arrogant man came to him, and he said, "I have seen God. I have seen Krishna." And in humility and almost like an innocence, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati said, "Oh, and did you see his energy?" Which is just so charming that Krishna is never separated from his energy. So if you've actually seen Krishna, you would have also seen his energy. A number of years ago, Jayadvaita Swami said something very wise. Any of you know Jayadvaita Swami? He has an acidic sense of humor. So he said something very wise. He said, the trouble with ISKCON, he made a wise observation. The trouble with ISKCON is that we have no grandmothers. That was a number of years ago. So what he was saying really is, and it's true in a sense, we had no common sense, that the only granny wisdom, I think Allen Ginsberg said that. So the only granny wisdom we had was from Srila Prabhupada. He was really kind of the only grandmother, and he was the only one we would listen to, the only one we would accept. So of course now we do have many grandmothers in ISKCON. But the problem is when the voices of women, when the voices of mothers or grandmothers are silenced, it opens the door for women and children and women themselves to be abused. As we've so sadly seen with our children and our god sisters, seen them suffer, women and children need to be protected, as Srila Prabhupada always says. So protected from whom? Protected from evil-spirited men, right? The would-be abusers that we're seeing all over the world in the Me Too movement. So I wanted to read you a short excerpt from something Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote many years ago, maybe in the 1920s, maybe in the early 30s. But he wrote this in his Harmonist newspaper. I find this very egalitarian and an amazing, it's just a little excerpt from the piece. But he says, men and women are joined in wedlock for the purpose of serving each other in the joint service of Krishna. The wife is not an object of enjoyment of the husband, nor vice versa. They choose for their partners only such persons who serve God better than themselves. They offer themselves to be accepted by their partners for the favor of being allowed to share in their superior service of Hari. Isn't that beautiful? It's just a little clip from a longer piece, but I find it very powerful. So what about the wife of the teacher or the guru? I was thinking about the ideal Gurukula, the Gurukula of Sandipani Muni. And we can only surmise that, that the wife of Sandipani Muni must have been there to lovingly care for Krishna, Balaram, and little Sudama Brahmana. You know, what a beautiful image of that family guru with his loving wife and the children receiving care. Maybe she would be bathing them, and it's a beautiful ideal. But generally in the past, our children didn't have that kind of a mother's love in Gurukula. But I think it is much better now, by Krishna's grace. So generally the most glorious service for a woman really is to be a wife and a mother. It's the most centering and most deeply fulfilling role that a woman can have in life. But there are, and always have been, and always will be, different kinds of people. And this is not only a function of modernity. The earliest Upanishads describe that in the Treta Yuga, an erudite woman scholar named Gargi debated the sage Yajnavalkya in the court of King Janaka. So we all have different gifts given to us by God. Just like Devaki herself, she's preaching all over the world according to her own understanding and realization. So what we are given is God's gift to us, and how we use it is the gift we give back to God. Gauravani and I have some very close friends in Mumbai, and the family, they're really pillars of the community there. And their older daughter is very, very happy being a wife and a mother of 3 beautiful daughters. And her younger sister, from the time she was very small, has always known that she wanted to grow up to be the Prime Minister of India. And she is now, currently, she is an attorney. She's working in a law firm. And she wants to be the change, as Gandhi said. She wants to be the change. She intends to be the change. And she has every intention for political office. So our sons, our daughters may not fit the mold of what you or I think they should do in life. Actually, I just want to inject a little joke here. My son Gauravani has a joke. He says that every mother in ISKCON is saying to her son, maybe you've all heard of Radhika Raman Prabhu or Ravi Gupta, who got a PhD at Oxford at the age of like 20, 22, I don't know, like the youngest in the history of Oxford. So Gauravani says that every mother in ISKCON is saying to her son, "You bum, why aren't you Ravi Gupta?" That's a joke. So I believe that true Varnashram would be when everyone finds a place to serve in Srila Prabhupada's greater ISKCON society, where everyone would be honored for their unique contribution. If only 10% of the people become top brahmacharis in ISKCON, then true Varnashram would be to have wonderful, inspiring programs for the other 90%. Perhaps you've all heard about the first Hindu Congresswoman, Representative Tulsi Gabbard. So she is a Vaishnava. And every year on New Year's Day, she goes online and reads an inspirational message from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, to share uplifting wisdom from Srila Prabhupada with the public at large. So we live in Washington, D.C., and in Washington we were at an event honoring her election, and we met her parents, who are also devotees. So her mother was telling me that both her daughters are warriors, and both her sons are doing business. And Tulsi, who is now running for president of the U.S., was once a soldier in Iraq, carrying a machine gun, and she is a devout follower of Srila Prabhupada. So each one of us is like a snowflake. Each one of us is unique with different gifts from Krishna, meant to be used for him in our own unique ways. If I don't offer my unique God-given gifts back to Krishna, then the world will be that much less. Mother Teresa said something very beautiful. She said, we sisters of charity feel that what we are doing is just simply tiny drops in the ocean. But then she said, but without our tiny drops, the ocean would be that much less. Isn't that beautiful? I found that so beautiful. So what about the wife of a king? I often think about the great Kunti Devi. She was the queen. She was a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. She had the right to approach Krishna's chariot as he was leaving Hastinapur to go back to his own city of Dwarka. But what if she had stood at the back? What if she had not come forward to offer her extraordinary prayers? Then the world would have been bereft of hearing her meditation, her words of glorification, and learning from her exemplary devotion. Srila Prabhupada would sing her prayers in times of difficulty. At Bhaktivedanta Hospital in Mumbai, when someone is wheeled into surgery and given anesthetic, the last thing they hear is the prayers of Mother Kunti. And what about the wife of a Brahmana? I think of the Yagyapatnis. They are our mothers and our gurus of pure devotion. Their husbands knew all the mantras and tantras and yantras, but what they did not know was that when Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys are in the neighborhood and they are hungry, that they should immediately be given the results of sacrifice. Bhaktaram yagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam yatramam shantam vichchati. So, but the simple, illiterate wives of those Brahmins knew what their highly educated husbands did not know, that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the well-wishing friend of all living beings. The wives of the Brahmanas had that conviction and peace. They were not afraid to go to Krishna with their offerings. And their husbands cursed themselves afterwards. To hell with our yagyas and mantras and tantras. We were so ignorant that we did not take the opportunity to serve Krishna the way our wives did. The beautiful Bhagavatam is all about this kind of role reversal. It's all about uplifting the small people, the humble people, like Prahlad Maharaj, like Sudama Brahmana, like the simple gopis of Vrindavan. And what about Mother Cow? She is the emblem of selfless love, eating only grass which grows freely everywhere, transforming it into her own life's blood, giving us the miracle food of milk, like our own mother's milk and ghee and all that's used in the worship of Krishna, and building finer brain tissues so we can understand Krishna. She is our gentle mother. And just seeing her calms the mind. Yet in the dark days of Kali Yuga, like other mothers, she is being abused and killed. And the nurse, maybe we don't have a nurse who helped our natural mother feed us. But what about Lord Vishwambara? Amba means the nurse. Lord Gauranga, Lord Vishwambara. He is the universal mother who is feeding us the nectar of the holy name of Krishna. If we will only agree to drink deeply, knowing that there is no other reality within all the 14 worlds, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur said. And finally, the sacred goddess who holds us all, each and every day, our Mother Earth. Her gifts are not a commodity or even a resource to be misused out of greed. And where is our gratitude for the gifts with which she nourishes us all every day? Without gratitude, love is impossible. We talk a lot about higher rasas of love in Krishna consciousness, but without gratitude, love is really impossible. Do you all know the prayer to Mother Earth that in our Bhakti tradition we're instructed to say every morning before rising from bed? Maybe some of you know that prayer. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandite Vishnupatme Namastubhyam Padasparsham Samastame. O Mother Earth, you are holding the oceans and the mountains. You are the wife of Vishnu. Please forgive me for placing my feet on you. So before putting your foot on the floor each morning, this is the prayer you're supposed to say. So in conclusion, wisdom on the path of bhakti is to honor our 7 mothers. Our own mother, who is our first guru, to honor the wife of our teacher or guru, to honor the wife of a king, to honor the wife of a Brahmin, to honor our most benevolent mother cow, and to the one who gives us the nectar of the holy name, our Lord Vishwambara. And finally, our sacred Mother Earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marita. This was very nice. We have one question for you. Can you recommend some ways to be a good mother? It's a whole seminar in itself. But maybe just a few points you can share.
Well, I think in all cases it's really important to just keep the communication lines open. That I think the best mothers are the ones who always have that relationship where they're not the big boss lady, but they just are able to really speak and really hear. I mean, we've all heard before, we have one mouth, it's naturally closed, we have 2 ears that are by nature open. So I think, as a matter of fact, my husband, he's the communications director, as he mentioned. And when we were raising Gauravani, he would often say to me, in any communications, he's the communications, in any communication, who is controlling the conversation? The one who is speaking or the one who is listening? So what do you think? The one who's listening. So especially teenagers or even children of any age can so easily just shut their ear holes to not hear at all what you're having to say. So you might be blah, 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 and they have completely shut you out. So another thing I would say that is part of that, being able to hear and also to be able to see, we were talking about this earlier, being able to really see, is to catch them doing it right. Usually what happens in parenting is we catch them doing wrong, and intuitively and maybe subconsciously, children know they get more attention when they do something wrong. They get more bang out of the relationship when they do something wrong, more attention. Sometimes you've heard of the disease of influenza. There's another disease called affluenza. So when we have this disease of affluenza in the modern world, so often parents will be buying something for their kids, and what the kids really want is attention of the parents, love and attention, which is the most precious thing to give is your attention. So catch them doing it right. Instead of, they bring home the report card and there's 3 A's and 1 B, and the parent says, what's this B? Or what's this C? Instead of, hey, good job, you got 3 A's. But you understand. So it's an art we can learn to catch them doing it right and give them more attention for doing things right. I wouldn't say that I did such a good job in raising Gauravani. I would usually have to say the opposite of what I wanted him to do. But those are a few thoughts. Actually, I'll add one more thing. And I think this works in any relationship, in a relationship with a husband and wife, in a relationship with a child. The power of an apology is extremely powerful. I heard Gauravani do this. When we brought 30 people to India, Gauravani and I, and he had his little son Kirtan with him. And once Kirtan was trying to help with some of our communications, and you're talking, and we're trying to communicate, but Gaura had actually misunderstood what Kirtan was trying to help, because we had a little code with everyone. When we wanted to get everyone's attention, we were going. That was our code. So Kirtan was doing this, and Gaura misunderstood. And Kirtan was very hurt and kind of angry. So Gauravani apologized to him. He sort of took it, But then afterwards, actually, I think it was the next morning, he said in front of the whole group of 30 people, he said, I really want to apologize to my son Kirtan for misunderstanding his motives. He was trying to help. And it was extremely powerful to have this little child receive an apology from an adult in front of all these other adults. So I could take more time on that, but I don't want to monopolize. If you see me later, I'll tell you another story. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.